Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, the Leo King, here for the spiritual talk show After Dark here on highvibe.tv. Thanks so much for being here on highvibe.tv. Make sure that you check us out. We have apps. We have an awesome website where you can get this content, of course, for free. And, of course, if you want to help us keep this on the air for free on YouTube and on the apps, you can check out at High Vibe, where we have special videos, we have a school, and more importantly, we also have an awesome subscription service with daily video content and weekly video content, all spiritual, everything from inspiration, my video horoscopes, and so much more. Check it out, highvibe.tv. And check out my Venus video. It's pretty hot right now. Now, tonight, we have a special show. We have Erika Othen, known as Crystalline Codes. We go way back. We met on True Beauty 10 years ago and have had quite a journey. And we have Sarah Paasch, who's an awesome astrologer, and so much more. Shadow work, life coach. She is in the house. How are you both doing tonight?
Wonderful. Very excited to be here.
Yeah. Doing good.
That was really an exciting intro. I'm excited to have you both here because when you both met, when was it? I don't know, 2 months ago? Mm-hmm. It was just like fire between you two instantly.
Yeah.
It felt super familiar, like right away.
That actually, if you want the real story.
Yeah, I want the real stuff.
It's pretty funny, actually. I remember I was sitting on the couch on the laptop right by the door, and she walked in. And she kind of like looks at me, and I was like, "Oh, hi." She's like, "I'm here for David," and she like keeps walking, and I'm like, "Okay," and she just walks straight to the bathroom, and then in my mind telepathically, I'm like, "Do you like have an appointment or something?" And she literally walks out of the bathroom when she's done. She's like, "I don't have an appointment. He knows I'm here," and I was like. Cool, like you heard me. That was dope. And she's like, "I'm safe. Don't worry. I'm not some crazy person." I was like, if I picked that up, I would have like locked you in the bathroom. It's fine. She
literally said that.
That's how we met. Yeah, that's literally how we met.
Yeah, instant friends.
Yeah.
Really interesting story there. And it's just interesting I met both of you. I mean, Sarah I met at Rising Through the Darkness.
Yeah.
Which ironically is coming up on 2 years, and it's been rising through some darkness. But good, though.
Yeah.
I think we are rising through so much. And Eric and I met on True Beauty on a reality show on ABC.
Like
10 years ago this September.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We're a month away from 10 years.
Yeah.
And then our journey was pretty wild and still is wild all the way to this point.
Yeah. Long journey.
Well,
but beautiful.
And I want to say that, both of you have been very big supporters of my astrology life. I think that we all three have kind of, in our weird ways, all with our own unique relationships, kind of sparked our astrology life and careers together in a weird way.
Yeah, definitely. For me, like meeting you changed everything. It was like such a soul remembrance of my purpose, my path, like in the most beautiful way.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly, actually. The moment I knew Eric and I were like soul connected for life was when our first challenge on True Beauty was you get $200 and you have to go pick out an outfit in a thrift shop, and you have to be your Vegas, what was it, like icon or whatever, or like persona?
Yeah, persona.
So we don't know what we're all doing because we don't know what's in the store. So we all go, and then we all aren't allowed to really know, but we kind of know because the makeup artists come into our hotel, and there's 10 of us. And she's putting on a Marilyn Monroe outfit, and I'm putting on Elvis, and everybody else just made up just some random thing.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, and then when we took the big picture together, it was like, yeah, Marilyn and Elvis next to each other. And it was like, oh, we're the only people that we're thinking that way.
Crazy times.
And actually on that show, I walked right up, and I saw her, and the first line I literally tell her is like, hey, I'm a DJ and astrologer. I'm like, what sign are you?
I'm like, Gemini.
Yeah, like straight up. So kind of crazy. But I want to know what both of you are feeling right now, since you both are astrologers, about this Mars, Venus, and all this Virgo. I mean, this is a lot of Virgo coming in. I don't know when was the last time we had this much Virgo, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it is. I think it's an interesting shift. The biggest thing for me is that Regulus point, like everything on Regulus. I think all the Regulus star seeds are being like coming online now. I think it's super activating. For me, I was super tired, like these past few days, like feeling really almost like groggy, you know, and it was like hard to wake up. And I think we're just receiving these like massive downloads. So.
Yeah. What are you feeling, Sarah?
Well, I feel great with Mars and Virgo. I just feel like that song, a little less celebration, a little more action. Like a little less talk and a little more action. Like, don't talk about it, be about it. And it just feels like this, like, all right, it's been really great. I'm glad we like got to the center of the heart, like the heart of the matter of all of it. And let's do something. Like, it feels very active in that way. And I feel like, I mean, I spent my entire day, like, well, besides doing productive things outside of cleaning, like literally just purging and clearing shit out. And it's like everything that's not in alignment or in place, like it has to go. And so it feels like there's just no energy wasted right now, which feels really good.
Yeah.
And it also feels really good in the terms of like that whole grogginess. I felt that too. And now Virgo season's like, all right, like it's like been downloaded. Let's like digest it, assimilate it, distill it, and like get something out of it.
Yeah.
And it just feels active in that way. And it feels focused and just like, God, like I'm not distracted. Like it's just, it feels good. Like I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like how you know, this is a Mercury ruled energy, but I feel, you know, because Gemini and Virgo birth Mercury, right? Like I feel like Gemini is like, yeah, the page, like give me the message and what is it? And then like a typical Gemini, like running in circles, like, well, I got to go get it out there. But the Virgo is kind of like, okay, give me the message and let's just go. And then like figuring out how to get there and like you know, but this is more Virgo. It's like, give me the message, let's go and make it happen and let's figure it out and let's go. You know, Mercury is definitely two parts. It likes to spin around in circles, but it also likes to go just in the way that it acts. Like it loves to go forward. It loves to get out of a retrograde. It loves to get out of shadow like it is now. So I think this Virgo energy is more potent because of the mercurial activity that's in a much more positive space, although it is making a yod this week, which I think is beautiful in the middle of all this transition, which is very faded. And there's so much mercurial energy with the moon in Gemini, square the sun at 0, both Mercury, ruled, and then Venus and Mars in Mercury with a Mercury in Yod. I'm like, this is very mercurial now. And we've been in such like such an emotional place, which I like, but also when it gets too much, it's kind of like, I kind of want a little bit. I know it's felt crazy, but I think it's felt more emotional crazy. I think I'm ready for some more stimulation and reality crazy and kind of shifting things around, you know?
Yeah. It's like what you were saying, like letting it all go, but then like grounding it in, anchoring it in, rooting it in, like in a tangible, real way.
Yeah, and I think Mars and Venus together is going to be a really interesting part to play with this, because in Virgo, it has this service-oriented aspect to it.
Yeah.
And I feel that there's this alignment going on that's redefining so much, because I feel Mars and Venus, they do a redefining of each other. Like Venus redefines itself because of Mars, and then Mars kind of adds some of the cake batter, or like, you know, the nicer parts to it that maybe it was missing, you know? Like it's kind of like a warrior who's wearing just like, I don't know, like a Tarzan outfit, and it's kind of like, no, we can get you some nice armor, you know? Like, oh, okay, I feel better now, you know? There's kind of that mutual exchange that I like a lot. Although Venus is at fallen Virgo, which is a very interesting perspective. Tonight I talked a lot about how I think Venus, though, kind of wants to be in Virgo because it wants to get things done right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes Venus and Pisces can get a little, you know, okay, that's a really great idea or vision, but we got to do something.
Or like overextended. I also feel like Venus is at this is just coming to me, but I'm feeling like Venus is at fall in Virgo, but Like, who wrote that? Because what if Venus actually, if we think about Virgo as like the original myth, is the archetype of the Vestal Virgins and like the woman who comes home to oneself, who,
Yes.
and that is very much what this energy feels like, is like there was this focal point, the Lionsgate with this energy was just like huge activation. We talked about masculine, feminine the whole show last time. So it's like this huge integration internally, and we're so clear on like what it is. And now it's like, yeah, and I'm gonna like show up for that. And I have what I love about Virgo energy is like I have something to do, and unless you have something for me to do that matters. Like that's the quality of Virgo that's like so fucking beautiful. And it's the new moon's making this trine over to Uranus, so it's like we're moving, like it's time to go, like it's time to go forward. And that energy is like Mars has been leading the pack the whole time, right? Like she's like I'm like way up here, and Venus is like wait for me because I have something to say, and like gets there. And I don't know, I feel like this energy is just so supportive and activating, and it's like right before, you know, Saturn's gonna go direct in Virgo season next month, and it's like we gotta get our shit in order because like shit's about to like whoosh. Like it just feels like everything's coming online.
Yeah, it feels really supported. I like that you said that. It's like, I feel like Venus is like loving the support of Mars, you know? What came through is like the Lover's card in tarot, you know, like that perfect divine feminine, divine masculine, like coming together and like being super supported, but also like really pure. Like the vibration feels really pure.
Like not distracted.
Yeah, like locked in.
It's very locked in, but I think the Mercury-Jupiter thing is great, but the Saturn aspect is a good thing, I think, with the quincunx saying, like, there's a lot of great options, but why waste your time looking in that area right now? Like, Mars and Venus are coming together. The Sun is coming into Virgo. Like, it's great to have options, but narrow this down, please.
Yeah.
Because I do feel that there is not a lot of time. Like it really starts to feel like the little rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. Like I'm late, you know, because there really is that energy coming with all this. It's very interesting to me that the moon's coming into Taurus again with the sun in Leo to finish this sun in Leo. And right when the sun comes into Virgo, the moon goes into Gemini and squares it. And that's this, okay, you know, like this moment of, it has to be figured out. It has to be. And it can be stressful, though, on people. So I think it's like learning to find that locked in space so at least you can use the energy, kind of like a computer. If you try and open up too many programs right now, it's going to go really slow, and then your brain and your stress levels will go too much. But at least if you have one program running and you're running a lot on it, it can compute it all. It can figure it all out, you know?
Yeah, and there's so much mutable energy, too, you know? It's like, which way are you going to choose? You have to like be resilient.
I also see mutable energy as like transitional energy. And so I also see like right now, like Mars entered. And for me personally, it's been like, all right, if there's any open like gaps or there's any like open doors or any kind of like unfinished business, that's the word. It's like finish your business because it's time to start a new quarter or something. Like it's time to start. And so it's like wrapping shit up right now because we're about to like actually get started. So I feel that transition in that mutable energy.
Yeah.
And I feel like with the square, with the Gemini square, it's kind of like with Virgo, it's such a strong Mercury energy. We have to be so mindful to like not mentally exhaust ourselves. Like you could get caught up in over analyzing everything and like running the data on everything. And it's like, this is still earth energy. So like, don't forget that like you can do that all you want and you'll find ways to do that because the energy's there to do it. Like we can stay in an idea fest forever right now, or it's like pick one idea and like try it out. And like sit a whole day and like give it your all, and if it doesn't work, like try something else. This is like feels very fresh in that way.
Yeah. I think the simplicity of Virgo, like in its exalted form, is the key. When you let your mind just like get all over the place and you're like worried about so many things, it like brings up that anxiety. It's like, like bring it back down to earth, like root it in.
Simplicity. Yes. Yeah. Because it's discerning.
Well, and I think with the sun exiting Leo with Juno at 29, 29, 29, like literally it's 29, 29, 29, 29, which I think was kind of weird. But I feel that, yes, Mars in Virgo is very locked in, but I feel like it's got to lock in not only the identity of who we are in Virgo and where it can really go, but not forgetting this courageous independent, unique person that we are of Leo that is reminding, as Venus will cross, of course, over Regulus, that will meet with Mars, that just went over Regulus, of, yes, it needs service, but there is still, you just don't leave Leo completely, since there is the sun at its dignified position. And I feel that we have to remind ourselves that 2 years ago was that eclipse. That was the total eclipse at 28. And that sun completes that 2-year cycle. We're out of the eclipses. I think the draining energy Erika was talking about was this weekend was the finishing of a full moon in Aquarius, which the last full moon was crazy in Aquarius with Mars retrograde in the South Node and the square to Uranus. Like that almost re-brought up a lot of over crazy radical squares and just karma that this moon in Aquarius pretty much kind of like pulled out of us and kind of threw out of the universe in many ways.
Yeah.
And now, so we can really go for what we want. But the sun in Leo, to me, it's kind of sad as a Leo seeing it go, not because of just, it goes, of course, every year, but because there is so much that we're never going to see again with Jupiter and Sag, with Saturn in its home sign of Capricorn, and Neptune and Pisces in its home sign. Like, and then you get the moon exalted as it leaves, you know? So like, it's not that potent ever again in our lives. That's potent.
That's crazy.
So it's a big reminder that we use this and remember that love, that creativity, that power of what we feel in ourselves that makes us feel grand, but it has to have service involved. And I don't think that you can just waste this energy either. You'd be I don't even want to say anything negative. I just am saying just no wasting this, because this is not going to be going on when you look at everything else coming up.
Yeah, it is a powerful energy for manifestation, like just getting things done, like truly, like putting that energy out into the universe and like making it happen, making it real, making it tangible. Like, don't just be sitting around on the couch all day. Like, get it done. Well,
and I want to say, because I've known Erika a long time, so Erika was known as like Erika J. Like everybody kind of has their alter ego, right? So like, I'm like, where's Erika J tonight? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure my friends are watching, like, where's Erika J? And I have always been known as, I don't know. Well, now it's known as the Leo King is my alter ego, but you know, people know me as David, and David doesn't sometimes come out fully like Leo King, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, maybe. But I feel like that's a reminder to formulate with this duality aspect. Virgo is a duality sign, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, also Gemini, which there's this communication aspect coming up really intense with Mercury and Leo in a yod, that we have these two sides of ourselves that we have to integrate in service. So it's like, I think the identification of self with Chiron and quincunx to Mars-Venus conjunction in Aries is definitely about not suppressing any parts of yourself that you feel, you know, could be good for the service. Because I feel like some people can get too service oriented and be like, well, I want to like, you know, maybe that's too much if I do this way. It's like, I think Regulus and Virgo is reminding Virgo, like, you can still do service of this kind of radical, crazy heart, and that's okay as long as it's pure and it's good and it's from love.
Yeah. I think that's that balance again of like the masculine and feminine. Like, we're going to go out and get it and allow. Like, it's a dance between those two energies.
Yeah, and it's so perfect. I did a reading today that was literally the message was like, you cannot be afraid of how it's going to be received, because that's part of the potency of the work that you're here to do, is to be willing to be received. There will be people who won't get it. Like, let's just like name that. There's going to be like opposition. You know what I mean? Like that Saturn in that whole like there's an opposition to you, but like, can you use the other supportive aspects to like just embrace the whole process and to put yourself out there and to shine? And I feel like what better way, the way I've been seeing this whole like transition from this like huge Leo energy into Virgo is like, what better way to celebrate our talents and our gifts and our like recent just reclamation of ourselves and our hearts than to fucking make something of it. Than to like get to work and like do something with it, and to just devote ourselves, to our gifts, to our passions, to whatever it is. And I just like whatever distractions, I think there was so much feminine, masculine, and so much relationship energy in the last cycle. And with Virgo, it's very much like are we going to do this or not? And so it's coming together to make something, and it can be separate, but you're still in support. Like you're still like we got something to do, we got work to do, and not getting like sidetracked and kind of like held back in that relationship drama stuff. Like that stuff's like, put it to the side. You got shit to do. You got shit to do right now.
Let it go.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
Well, and they are going to be semi-square to the North Node, the Sun, Venus, Mars this week, which I think is an interesting dynamic of how to come together and do the work. But is there that one aspect of, oh my gosh, like, is this in true alignment emotionally? Like, there's a lot of emotion still going on, because when the moon squares the sun, they both are semi-square to the North Node, which is a very weird angle, and as they're squaring. And so that North Node is trying to emotionally make sure that all this extreme kind of radical, like very stimulating and mutable and changeable energy with a cardinal aspect of emotion is directed. But if that emotion is not found between both parties or something, that's where it's like, I think Sarah's right. It's like, are we doing this or not? Like, it's like at the line of that, like, and if not, emotionally not there, because there's an emotional element that needs to be brought into all this. Because if it's just Virgo, or it's just Mercury, if it's just doing something without some sort of emotion behind it, it almost can just be mundane or mechanical, you know?
Yeah. And we've done so much work, like collectively, emotionally. Like during Cancer, it was like, ugh, like so much that I think now it's like, okay, release what we need to release, let go of it, like move forward, heal. There was so much healing, like timeline healing, past healing, all of that. And I think it's like, all right, like let's go. It's like you said, it's go time.
Yeah. And also, I feel like there's, yes, the emotions need to be on track and they need to be ingredients, but I think these kind of challenging dynamics, like those aspects you're talking about, David, are like, it's also like, it's Virgo season. So I also feel like it's like prioritizing and being discerning. And I feel like there's like a moment of just, we don't need to talk about everything that's happened right now, and we don't need to even be on the exact same page. We need to be clear within ourselves. And the sun is clear, the moon is clear, Venus is clear, Mars is clear, Mercury is clear. Like everything's clear on themselves, and Virgo's coming home to themselves. So it's like, just stay in your, like, stay clear, stay on track, stay focused, and stay in service to something greater than just yourself. So it's not egotistical, it's not self-important. I think with Virgo energy, we also have to be mindful with all the healing energy that's been coming in. That's something my guides have been really clear about, is like, we can sit and process this shit all day. Like the amount of stuff that we have like done collectively, personally in 2019, we could sit on a therapist couch for the next 10 years and go through it. Honestly.
You're right.
Or we can like kind of just let it process in the background. I think our consciousness is evolved enough to do this. Oops.
And that night is ready for it too. He'll take it all
cut
on.
He's got it. Let the night do it all.
He's got
and then just like focus and like settle into something new. I mean, what did we do it all for? It's like, it's been done. So now it's like, receive the rebirth, like receive the new energy. And it's so stimulating. Are you going to use that stimulation to like dive in and dissect the problem and like Virgo, like, I'm going to edit this as far down as I can? You could do that. Maybe you're like going to write a book about something you did, and that's what you need to do, you know?
Also, don't get lost in that, you
Right.
know? Like, you don't want to, you want to just like keep on pushing it forward. Like, it's the mission, you know? It's about the mission. It's about being of service. It's about like having courage. You really touched on that in the deep astrology, and it was beautiful. It's like courage, like heart-centered courage to like really go for it, really put yourself out there.
Yeah, and it's not egocentric, you know?
No,
I think Chiron
no.
in Aries is going to remind in that quincunx to Mars and Venus and the Sun, like, hey, like, if you're identifying this thing off some sort of ego position, like, it's not going to look maybe the way that you want to.
Yeah, and
Right?
I feel like it crumbles, you know?
And
like,
that's where you kind of know maybe that is the right thing. If you start nitpicking and looking at it like, well, I want it to look more like this. It's like, well, maybe you need to kind of like really see what really it is, and then check your heart and see if that feels good, but it maybe doesn't look the right way. maybe there is something there, opposed to, well, it doesn't look the way I want to, so fuck this, you know? Like, I think that Chiron in Aries, we've never experienced it before consciously, is going to be a weird one with the Mars-Venus conjunction. We've never seen that in our lives. In a quincunx, too, which is very odd. There's a lot of quincunxes going around.
Yeah.
So don't become like a puppet on a string, you know? That's kind of quincunxy energy because it's like very... And kind of like you said, birth and like step into this and follow the beauty that this can take you towards. But I will say that Leo's courage right now is this heart of integration into with Virgo. There's the strength card in tarot, which is the lion that the Virgo is petting the lion and giving the courage through the purity and through the service that the lion is to do. Like if the lion has no service to do, then it's just going to go lay around and romp and piss around the borders and yawn.
Yeah.
And pick its teeth like Scar. So without that service, like Mustafa has service in his life. Service to the Pride Lands and service to all the animal kingdom. And that gives him the real true royalty, which is the test for all people right now of Regulus and Virgo, which we've never seen this much activity on Virgo Regulus.
Yeah.
Well, what is the new kind of service? Well, it's true service. Of course, it still has a regal element, but it's got to be not so self-serving for Instagram likes or something.
Yeah. For me, that Regulus point is, like you said, being of service, but it is like with that regal element, like owning it, right? But it's like an enlightened leader with a noble heart. That is the energy of like Regulus, especially like a Regulus starseed. So
I want to ask you about that because if y'all don't know that's what Erika really specializes in her readings is like starseed activation readings.
Yeah.
So with Sirius in the North Node, with the Sun on Regulus, we actually, Jupiter's past Antares now.
So Jupiter is on the Great Attractor. So that is, so this is crazy. So the Great Attractor is actually like bigger than the Galactic Center, right? So it's like 2 billion light years across is a Great Attractor. And it's basically this like anomaly in space, like it's an enigma. It's not quite a black hole because it doesn't have it emits light, but it's also like this huge vacuum, right? So literally our galaxy is being hurled at this Great Attractor that's like sucking it in like a vacuum, but also emitting all this light. So we are receiving so many codes, like so many downloads from Jupiter, just expanding all of that energy, right? Like just all through our crown, receiving it all, like major downloads, plus the Regulus point, which like as far as starseed location, it is very like the never-ending story. Have you guys ever seen like the never-ending story?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so like Artreyu and like Falcor, right? So Fantasia, like it's literally like little elves and mermaids and like all this like beautiful energy. So all those starseeds being activated. It's also like Camelot and Avalon and the Holy Grail, Merlin, right? So this is about like remembering our magic, bringing our magic like and making it real. It's beautiful.
But your
point.
rising's right on Sirius, and the North Node's like right here.
Yeah, and that's another starseed location, Sirius. So there's 3, right? So there's Sirius A, B, and C. Basically, Sirius A is more like feline, like dog kind of energy. Sirius B is very aquatic, like mermaid. I always say like dolphins, cetaceans, whales. And I kind of had to download that Sirius C. Not a lot of people talk about it, but it's more like avian energy, kind of like that blue avian energy. And it's being ignited by these nodes right now. So I feel like so many people like on the mission, just collectively like are remembering past timelines, like Akashic timelines of ancient Egypt, because that's all connected to Sirius, right? Of like ancient Maya, of like the Dogon tribe. Like we're all like remembering this through our Akashic and being activated. And it's just like a beautiful thing.
Well, I love that because especially with Neptune trining the North Node
Yeah.
and with Saturn on the South Node, that's gnarly. I have been calling this the spiritual quest.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I'm very Avalon Camelot-y, so yes, I love this the most. But there is this really deep moment here. Like I said tonight at the last degree of the Sun in Leo on August 22nd, with the Sun in Juno at 29, with seeing that, you know, Venus, Regulus, and crossing over with all these aspects. Like I called it, if there was going to be a chart of the secret of manifesting, I said that this is it.
Yeah.
And remembering all these things, but that Saturn South Node and Neptune sextile, but then trining the North Node, we have to follow this really deep spiritual intuitive knowing of a soul purpose. Like Virgo is a service purpose soul-wise, but it definitely is much more of the reality and how we do it. But there is something about how we're going to mix all this energy together. I mean, we're talking about a lot. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about projects. We're talking about Akashic records. We're talking about, you know, your alignment with your galactic, you know,
Star family.
We're talking about Jupiter and this great attractor, which makes sense that Jupiter is entropic in this area, that it's such the biggest planet, and it does go through this massive area, and then it does go to the galactic center in Vedic and sidereal, and in tropic. So of course this is where it happens, and that's what's coming as well, you know, is Jupiter. We were just looking outside when Eric and I went outside, like you can see Jupiter's headed towards the galactic center, and this is pretty intense because if you think about where Jupiter and Saturn are at 14, when they both go to 15 and so forth, that midpoint is the galactic center point, right? So Jupiter and Saturn are holding together this, you know, very interesting, weird place here of these galactic energies that are really clicking right now.
Yeah. Well, it's the galactic center is literally the center of our Milky Way galaxy, right? Where information, light, streams down from all other galaxies into ours. So just streaming through all the activations. It's really powerful. Like I love the metaphor that you use about the quest, because that's really what it feels like. Like we're like finding our own holy grail and like locking that energy in now.
And also what's coming to me is like, it's kind of like this floating feeling I've been feeling all day. It's like when you're like locked in to your alignment, when you're like, I checked in, I'm here. It's like, there's not a lot to like do in terms of making sure all the pieces are in place. Like all of these things are coming into place.
Yeah.
Like out of our control. We are like hands off the wheel. And it's kind of like, actually, the image that my friend and I have been talking about all day is kind of like this new self is like totally here, totally like driving the car. Old self's still here, but like sitting in the back seat. You're just like, you're aware of it. It's in the back seat, but it's like this new self is driving, and you don't know like how you know how to drive, but you do because it's who you really are. So it's also like such a sweet surrender. Like it feels so like, I could fight if I really wanted to, or like that Virgo, like I could nitpick somewhere, like hook into this if I wanted to in this like 3D thing, or I can kind of like not and just like ride this super like fast charged dope ride into our destiny.
Yeah. I'm seeing that, like ride the waves, like literally just like don't fight it, don't swim upstream. You don't have to, like literally just
but like
ride
find your wave.
Yeah.
Find your wave.
Like which one is it going to be? That one? Like, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with the moon in Gemini, it's going to go through the Pleiades as well, right? As it's squaring over.
Yeah.
And there is something very unique about this moon twice in Taurus with the Sun in Leo. That's powerful. That's an exalted, and the moon actually, well, it does go into Cancer with the Sun in Virgo, but you know, it is this really powerful time where the moon is coming into its most powerful energies. The sun is leaving, but crossing Regulus in Virgo, which I would say is giving Virgo a much more stronger position in the zodiac for the sun.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's giving it like
royal blood,
like
blue blood,
like
almost,
you are
right?
now like, yeah, exactly. It's kind of like how like England kind of created Canada, and people don't realize that Canada is not sovereign. The Queen still pays for all the police there and pays for all the government officials, and still the Queen has the power at the end of the day. And you can go look this up. A lot of Canadians always say, no, we've been told that. No, go look it up. The Queen has the power, or the monarch, to still say no to certain things and pull out a prime minister or they have that power still. But there is that here, Canada, you can be kind of sovereign and own, but I'm kind of checking on you to make sure you keep this thing royal, because Canada is very different than England.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of similarities.
I love touching on the sovereignty aspect, because I think of that, like I think of Virgo like that. It's like what you were talking about with like virgin, which the original meaning of virgin is what really was a woman unto herself, or like a someone unto themselves. So that is our sovereignty. It is like finding that sweet spot of like that beautiful connection between the masculine and feminine, but also finding our autonomy in that, also finding our sovereignty within that.
It's the moment too, because to be honest with you, when you get Virgo, it's harvesting the wheat. And it's in the moment of when you're harvesting, it's like in the old Karate Kid movies, like wax on, wax off, right? This whole, like, in the moment, you're not losing yourself. Like Sarah just said, like, there's something about when you're in it, you're not really processing too much. You're in it and you're in your zone and you're in your fate and you're in your destiny. But if you're like stepped back, I think too much analytically and you're not doing anything with the wheat. You're not doing your job. And there's something about the purity of that. And I love the Virgo energy because, and I'm talking about old energy. So whether you look at the old Marcus Manilius book or like Astronomica or anything, there is kind of this, it doesn't matter your status or whatever. It just matters about what you're doing. So there isn't about whether you're a king or a queen or you're high up on the ladder or if you're just working whatever. But it's that purity of being in the wheat and just doing the job and just doing it that is the most humble position that you can be, which is purity in itself, which is humble aspects, Yeah. But the shadow side of Virgo is the opposite, which is, criticism, right? Like you're not doing it good enough, or, you missed that spot. It's like, I was doing it, I was in it. I was doing the service. Sure, it could be better, but it can never be perfect.
Yeah. I think that's the trick though too. Like don't get caught in the loop. Like literally do not get caught in that Virgo loop. Don't nitpick. Don't like just keep on going over the little minute details because it's like, no, clear it out, clean it up. Like get out of your own way, really.
Yeah. And also like compassion is the medicine for the criticism. So out of all of this 2019 work we've done, if you haven't gained anything except for self-compassion, then that can be such medicine right now, because it's like we are in new territory. And so when there's new territory, there needs to be an invitation to be a beginner. There needs to be an invitation to fail. There needs to be an invitation to be imperfect. You know what I mean? And we're also refining. Like we are beginning and refining at the same time is like what it feels like. It's like, and we want to make sure we do our best job. We have everything we need. We have all the resources. It's not about like going out and getting new stuff. It's like, no. You have everything you need. Like don't waste anything. Like don't go get something new. It's like use what you have and make the most of it, and like have fun while you're doing it. Like use that Leo enthusiasm, that fire that's been burning hot for this whole thick summer. It's like, use it as fuel to like go into something that you care about, and not that you're like, not the conditioning, not the cultural conditioning, not anything outside of you that's like, it needs to be perfect in this sense. It's like, it needs to be authentic. It needs to be like on purpose. It needs to be for a reason. And that's where like the Virgo coming on home onto oneself, it's like, yeah, like be married to your passion and devoted to whatever it is you're going to create. Like give it your all.
Yeah, dedication came through. I think it's also too like finding perfection in the imperfections.
But yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I love Sarah's point here. I don't think that you can define what this new re-identification and re-understanding of this new formulation that's coming about is with Chiron and Aries retrograde quincunxing all this. Like it's just like a knowing, a being in there and doing it, and not living by like the name tag on it, right? Like, I'm here doing this. Like when people start doing that in Virgo, it kind of becomes like, yeah, is there anybody else in this room here? You know what I mean? Like, when people start doing this, like I want to be, Virgo doesn't want to be seen for what it does. And I think with this Capricorn South Node stuff, it's like this, it's more about the Cancerian, like, you get the accolades by just showing up emotionally and being in it, and by just doing it. That's where the accolades are. Because Capricorn still is going to find an accolade somewhere. It's going to find, but it wants to give the victory to those that are emotionally showing up, those that are being pure, those that are just doing it, and those that aren't doing it for some sort of greed, that aren't doing it for some sort of, status, like that's not going to work in this energy, I don't feel. And I wanted to bring this up because just bringing Erika on the show brought up a lot of controversy on my Facebook. A lot. Like there's hundreds of comments on there just because.
You live for that.
Well, and I want to bring it up, and I want to get Sarah's opinion. I want to get Erika's opinion here because this brings up this Mars-Venus redefinition of relationships itself too, and kind of the new reality and the old, like you said, Sarah, this old kind of understanding. Like a lot of people, they were confused and thought, one, that I was like still married and it was fucked up of me putting my ex-girlfriend on the show. Two, then they thought old pictures of us like showing the history was that we were together now, so it really confused people. And then three, it's just kind of like people can't understand that Erika and I always say this when people go, what's up with you and Erika? I'm like, there is no defining what we are. Because we have been competitors in a reality show. We have been best friends in the reality show. We were extreme lovers. We were roommates. We lived together. We were, I was the stepdad to 4 dogs. Then it was, she helped activate me with my astrology. She supported me. I was on Venice Boulevard or Venice Boardwalk. She made the sign, was the one that was like, here, let's do it. And let's do this. And held the sign with me while I was doing readings to how many people? Just for free, for $5, enough to have the gas money to come back. To then, of course, going through a breakup and then becoming best friends and then, activating each other as astrologers and always just having, we've been every role.
Every role, yeah. But I think that is like the new age. It doesn't have to be defined, Like it doesn't have to be put in a box.
Actually can't be.
Yeah, it can't. And like you and I are not the type of people that can be put in a box.
No, I was even saying,
but I think
we had our
on the
radio show too. We were models together. I mean, it's like we have done every role.
And even before meeting, it's interesting, we always had like these parallel lives, right? Like even doing the reality back in the day, but
her and I were both on MTV at the same time on different shows.
Yeah, well, when I met both of you like separately and together, I just picked up like a very like organic energy. That's like the best way I can put it, is it's just like family, like soul
family. That's what I say.
It's like and I think especially coming out of all of this relationship, like up leveling and evolution that we've all gone through collectively, is like, and personally, we cannot put ourselves into boxes anymore. And like to go down that Virgo train of like, let's explain ourselves. It's like, no, like that's not gonna, it's never gonna work. And there's always gonna be a question unanswered because this is undefinable. This is in terms that we've used before. Like this is new, this is different, and it's ancient. It's so ancient and natural and organic, and that's like you were saying, the collision of all of these different kind of not timelines but like eras. I felt like it was just like these monumental, magical, historical mythos, and they're all kind of overlapping. And it's like also what was coming, it kind of goes together, is what was coming to me is like, what's like the greatest expression and embodiment of self-esteem? Like somebody who actually has like the best self-esteem. It's like the invisible giver, like the invisible worker, the person who is like anonymously giving of themselves and showing up, because they're not waiting for somebody to acknowledge them. It's self-esteemed.
Yeah.
So all of this Leo energy, like if you said you found yourself, if you said you found your passion, if you said you're like clear, and then you find yourself explaining yourself or pointing to your name tag or tallying up things and like, I did this, did you do that? It's like, check yourself and give yourself your power back and be like, I'm not doing this for anyone but myself. And that's the thing. Am I doing this because I want to be doing it? And then great, you get to use editing Virgo season to be like, I'm going to stop doing that. It's not actually a priority to me. And I'm waiting for somebody to acknowledge the fact that I said yes when I meant no.
Yeah, I love what you said about the anonymous giver, because I feel like that is the role that the feminine has played for the masculine for so long, for like thousands of years, right? Like we've been holding it down for the masculine, like Mary Magdalene to Yeshua, Isis to Osiris. Like there's so many parallels.
You did that for me.
Where the feminine has been holding it down, like just anonymously, right?
But not necessarily anonymously. Like
No,
I would
not-
have to
but
say that
many-
like it's
yeah.
coming. We're coming
But-
into this
but
as our
it's
evolution. Is like
now
come back to it.
It's coming back to it.
Yes.
So that I'm saying that here is the shift.
Yeah.
This is the change. Like as the feminine is rising in her sovereignty, empowered, like with her in her way, right? Allowing it with grace, with illuminated grace. Like as that feminine energy is coming back online again, you know, how does the masculine show up for her? Right? It's like, but as we rise, it's not like to now dominate the masculine. Like that doesn't work. That's an antiquated paradigm that just like is obsolete. It doesn't work.
Right.
So it is a mutual respect. It is a mutual support. Like it's, that's that Mars, Venus coming together with Juno there. It's like that. It's just support from love, from the pure love, like just from heart, integrity of heart. That's what that is. And that's what we're coming into. You know, I feel that. I think that's what they say is like this new earth frequency. It's like the harmony of it, the harmonic resonance, the balance of it all. That is what's, we're stepping into now.
You literally just quoted my entire conversation with my friend a couple hours ago. That was so dope.
Rise, sister, rise.
Yeah. No,
Well, I
thank you.
think
That's great.
that like again, it's not definable. Like that's the thing, is that Juno is coming in to make sure that both male and female understand each other in the most same reflection. And I've been having some conversations, because it's like with this rise of feminine, there was also at one time, right, the rise of masculine, but it created the destruction of the feminine. But it's like, are we going to replay this, but with the rise of feminine and destruction of masculine?
No, because that's the antiquated paradigm. It'll never work that way.
Yeah.
And that is not in true essence to the feminine. It's not dominating. It's not suppressing. It's none of that. It just won't work.
No.
It's like, especially not with, Saturn and Pluto there in the South Node, like, Rome is falling, right?
Because
it's literally crumbling.
They have like a status, so they have some sort of, that Capricorn always wants to know like what it like is defined by, to pass through certain hierarchies and so forth. And it's kind of like, whoa, like, it's almost like as the feminine rises, like, don't get pissed at men for still being men in certain ways. Like, it's almost like I can feel like right now, because it can get really, I think there's going to be a lot of crazy critical energy of the unconscious coming out. So I think we're talking about so much beautiful aspects of what's going to show up.
Well, this is like the evolved
But the shadow
version.
part of this is going to be, look at you did this, and look at that these people are doing that, and it's just going to get a little crazy with that Gemini moon, and emotions coming out with all the mercurial stuff. And I think that people have to learn, like, this isn't so defined, it's felt, it's known, it's natural.
Yeah. Well, then there's also no room for blame. There's no room for shame. There's no room for that in sovereignty. So I think it's like true, pure support coming from like that heart-centered integrity. you
It
know?
reminds me of when we did Beauty and the Grumble, which was the idea of the show we used to do was take the news stories of the week and then we would rap about them, grumble about them, but always show the beauty in them,
Yeah,
you know? So I
yeah.
think there's going to be some sort of grumbling that has to happen, but not like negatively, but finding the beauty in the grumble.
Well,
right?
I think that's like the realness too, you know? It's
Yeah.
like bringing the realness, but it doesn't have to be like objectifying, you know? It doesn't have to be like in this diminishing way, right?
Yeah, like it's okay to, I think in Virgo, like grumble a little bit. Like, oh, I don't like the way that this looks, but do something about it.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
clean it up.
Right, exactly. What are you going to do?
Instead of, because Sarah just came in again, and Sarah's a shadow, expert, I would call her, that I think that we were talking about the shadow of this energy. We've been talking about the beauty of it, but I think that the unconscious can become like, really critical, but then not doing anything about it. Like, oh, I don't like the way that this is, and but then not using the energy to be like, okay, well then go clean it up then, or go do something of service about it instead of just talking about it with a moon in Gemini and squaring and getting really emotional about it and then just kind of throwing shade and criticism. And that Mars on Venus is beautiful, but it also is where we can't have this over domination of energy either, you know, because Venus is in her fall, so you don't want to, and it doesn't matter if it's a male or female or anybody, but there is the energy on the planet, and there is the energy of individuals where you don't want to, you take your masculine and try and dominate something right now too much.
It won't work.
It won't work.
It won't work. I also I think the shadow is to look for expectation is a setup for disappointment, first of all. And where are we focusing our attention and our energy? And if it's constantly outside of ourselves and on what everybody else isn't doing, that's not true Virgo embodiment. In my opinion, that's not true Virgo embodiment. That's deflection, that's distraction, that's drainage of energy. I've worked with a Virgo, they are the best coworkers because they're they'll be talking to you, but the second something comes in, some sort of work task, they're on it. They'll just cut you off high and dry, get to work. So I think it's a matter of our focus should be on our task right now, and our task is not each other. And it's never been each other, but especially right now, we are all integrating on our own very unique individual energies and also as relationships. And that's where it's undefinable. And it's if you have a question, you can ask a question. If we're looking for greater understanding to maybe get a better picture, a more clear picture, then that's fine. But now is not the time to go into something, to analyze something. And I think that's the shadow of Virgo is over analyzing, using our left brain, our logic to figure everything out. It's well, let me pull this data from way back here. It's we've never been here, child. This has never happened. I know we've been through some stuff and we've done things and you and I have met and we've met and all of these things and we've never been here before. So that data is not gonna work. What matters is, I wanna come back to what you said before about the harmonization and the frequency and just the love and how individually the power we have right now to affect change by just anchoring into that one purpose. It's I'm going to show up in integrity and in service and in unconditional love. I was listening to A Course in Miracles today. We aren't here to find somebody to love. We're just here to love. We're just here to give love.
Be.
Not somebody to love us, but just to give love.
Yeah.
And so
I think be love, literally hold that vibration, being that vibration of love, which is that unconditional support, integrity. It's being that is the key.
What does that feel like for you? Because you sound like you understand what that means when you say that.
It's a vibration, it's just a vibration of, kind of where it sits, where it resonates. I think that is a beautiful thing about this Virgo energy that we can really activate right now and catalyze is literally purifying our vibration. Right? So we can fully receive, so we can allow, so we can show up in the full embodiment, literally being. That is the key. It's peace. It's the frequency of peace, that perfect little harmonic resonance, that is that frequency of being love.
Yeah.
What do you both feel about Uranus trining Venus on Monday and getting ready to trine Mars in Taurus? That's going to add this whole other left field element.
Dimension. But that's kind of like what we're talking about, like with this ascension energy, right? Like I think it's like igniting it, which I think is enhancing it. It's making it more exciting and stimulating and like ready for like breakdowns, breakthroughs. Like let's go. You know, Uranus is like that quantum energy. Like that is the energy of the new earth. In Taurus, like that is literally the energy of the new earth. Uranus in Taurus is like the age of Aquarius. Hello, we are here. Like no more waiting, time to go.
Yeah, it's like enhancing the embodiment of the ascension we've had. Like now Uranus is retrograde and it's trining all these things. It's like all this that we've taken in as like Uranus has been direct. It's like now it's like blasting it out, and it's embodying it, and it's this like ability to do it seamlessly because it's a trine. So it's like the energy just fluid, and it's like if you choose, because there's always choice, right? Like 50-50 in astrology, it's always like 50% free will. So like if you choose to like even experiment with trying out what that might be like, it's available. And imagine if like everybody on the planet just like, fuck it, I'll just try it for today on that day. It's like no! Yeah. Like it's available
like literally
to us right
levitating,
now. Yeah.
like full on.
The only block is our mind. And that's the strength and the downfall of Mercury at its home and at its exaltation is like strong mind, strong. Like, is it strong enough to help you live by your heart, or like is it going to take over you? It's like that lion, that image of the lion. I think you were talking about that, where like the lions. It's like that lion is not like going to attack the queen, right? Like,
well, that's what I like that you bring that up. It was like when Uranus was in Taurus in the 30s, people freaked out by the Earth shifting in the new vibration of the Earth. Of course, in history is written by those who want it to be seen. So it's very terrifying that time in history, right? Of like watching leaders change, watching the world shift, watching, a lot of it change. We weren't there, so
it wasn't ready. They weren't ready,
right?
And we don't know if it was really like.
And the media back then was very controlled as far as there was only a very small outlet of it, and how it was portrayed. And there's some video, of course, right? And then they kind of piece together this stuff now. So I think that we have to be very aware with Neptune semi-square getting back as Uranus is retrograding to Neptune.
Yeah.
And Neptune making this yacht up to Mercury, that you can't get lost in that heart and losing this quality of seeing the beauty of this earth shifting. And I think people are terrified of with all this Capricorn and with Uranus and Taurus because, and I would say more of the shadow side of it is the fear of watching the earth shift. Like, I've been so used to it this way. I've been so used to watching the world go this direction where it's like, no, this is going a whole new direction. And we're redefining all values. We're redefining all things and what is the best of quality. Like maybe quality isn't a $1 million house and a fucking car anymore. Like that's not what is going to be good for people. And that might freak the hell out of people, like it's really moving in with, this is different because Regulus is in Virgo. Whereas during 1940, right? So that's when Regulus went to 29 degree, but it was at 28 degree in the Uranus Taurus the last time. And, it's interesting that that's where the solar eclipse hit 2 years ago. Yeah. And it kind of ended that reign. And there is nothing really, like eclipse-wise hitting these places in the new Regulus. It's really seeding the new Regulus.
Yeah.
While at the same time, Mars and Venus trying over to Uranus and go, yeah, I'm ready to integrate this new reality. And let me, and like Sarah said, like, what if you just like, who knows? Like you just kind of try for something and see where it goes and see what's better. I think Uranus pays people off when it's like, fuck it. Like I'm going to try what's different, what's a different aspect. And I think it's hard for Taurus to deal with Uranus because it wants things to be defined and understood as far as what is the value of this. Like, like, am I making corn because there's a lot of corn to make for something? Like, there's got to be some sort of value, a little Scrooge McDuck, going on when you got all this Capricorn and you got all this Earth, like, right? Like, it wants to know what's the reason to make things. Well, it's service. And there's this South Node old Capricorn shadow work that's going on with the South Node being like, oh, what if actually honor and integrity and the greatest accolade is this great new service?
Yeah.
Is this new redefined value of what we connect with on the planet? Because this is a very pure energy. And I don't know why human just keeps coming up, especially as, there are only two signs that are really fully human in astrology. It's Aquarius and Virgo. And although Virgo does have the wheat and, Aquarius does have the water bear, but, the water, the jug of water. But there is this purity aspect coming, I feel, of humanity trying to really understand what humanity is about, not through the systems that were created over a long period of time, and not even what the media is trying to tell us on what humanity is.
Right. Like without that veil of deception, like fake news, like people are like seeing beyond that. They're seeing things for like what they really are. They're questioning the authority, right? For the first time. It's like they're going like with the internet, right? Very Uranian. It's like we can search for answers, literally go down like an endless rabbit hole for answers, to find our own truth. And I think that is igniting it,
Yeah, I had a stomach ache and I started researching and then I thought I had some sort of weird, like maybe I thought I was going to have appendicitis and then really it was an alien baby.
Oh my God. That's great. I literally took my friend's phone when she was like, I'm having this weird thing. And I was like, are you Googling that? Like, put your phone down. Like, first of all, we're both energy healers. I'm a pharmacist. Put your fucking Google down. Like, what is this?
I'm glad you said that because it'll fuck you up.
This is not the season to fucking Google your fucking symptoms. Like, do not do that. No, do not fucking do that right now. Also,
bad idea.
At the peak of Ascension and transform. No, please do not do that.
Well, but that's the thing with these Ascension symptoms, right? Like they say, like flu, like full light body, like upgrade, right? Like we all are feeling these crazy symptoms, being really tired, having headaches, and it's like, I have a migraine. Like, it's like, no, like we're being so like activated on all these like crazy levels right now. That I think that is what it is, like. Don't get caught in the loop. The moral of the story is literally don't get caught in the little like Virgo loop.
No, ride the wave.
Ride the wave.
Use the Pisces medicine to balance you out. I also, when you said human, I was thinking at the same time you said that, the whole Uranus and Taurus and the values thing, it's like coming back to the value of like this life, like this breath, this moment, like there's something to this gift of Saturn, Pluto, this we are rebirthing the whole world. And there is a loss happening. There is a complete destruction and death and demolition. And like that's happening with the South Node there. It's crumbling beneath our feet. Everything we thought we had a grip on, everything we thought we knew for sure, every system we abided by, every rule we followed, everything we used to get to where we thought we wanted to go or needed to go, like, it's failing us. And at the same time, when we're brought to our knees in these moments, in like all of our different ways, we're brought back to life. We're brought back to like what matters, and everything clears. And for a moment, even if it's just after like loss of a loved one, that's the beauty of grief. Like when I've experienced grief, for me, it's never been my heart breaking. It's like my heart like breaking open. It's like a deep, deep love. And I feel like the ultimate, at this point in our humanity, in our evolution, we have the capacity to do this. Like we have the capacity to evolve in this way together and to heal this like disconnection that we have with our reality and our lives and each other. And now it's like the most advanced level of love also is friendship. And that's that Uranus medicine and trining Venus and trining Mars. And in these earth sign, it's a practical, unconditional free love. That's like, we don't have to be fitting in these boxes. We don't have to be on these certain timelines. It doesn't have to go a certain way. There's no explanation. And like, I got you. Like, I got you, you know?
That's very Venus trine Uranus, which I love. I have that in my chart. I was born with that one. And honestly, people have never understood that with me. You know, I can look at people and be like, well, why do you talk to this person? And it's like, why not?
Yeah.
So people don't do well with me who are like, you know, why do you talk to this person? Like, if you're talking to me, it's like, well, I'm just talking to you, and I'm talking to this person, and I'm talking to this person, and I'm talking to all these people. Or like, who can, what's the big deal? It's like going to a festival, right? It's like, are you going to start being like, why are you talking to that person next to the you know, porta potty? It's like, because I'm asking them which porta potty doesn't smell. You know what I mean? Like, what's the problem here?
Human
you know
to human.
I mean?
Like, let's just like relate.
Yeah, like, and I think there's a lot of that coming up about. I think, you know, I think Sarah's right. I think with this whole relationship thing, I think a lot of the layers of the more personal stuff has really been really intensely done. I think there's some final, I don't think it's fully done, but we're definitely getting really down to the core. But I think now this is going to bring up a little bit more of a different energy of like how we understand relationships in general, how we learn how to connect with people, and how to know how to really accept the value of somebody and how they connect to people, especially if it's in part of their service or it's part of their, you know, I look at Virgo as a machine, you know, like that's the machine and the conveyor belt of the service of God. That's what's coming out. It's like, if they're making Twinkies, like you need to get some guy who's got good cream, you know, like, and it's okay to talk to him, you know, it's like not weird to do that, you know, but people get really weird. I've noticed as I was born with that aspect. About everybody's always telling me like, why do you talk to them? Or I saw you, you know, you commented on that. Or I'm like,
yeah, I'm born with Venus Uranus conjunction, so.
Well, so you get it.
Yeah, I get it.
And you're
Sun opposed Uranus, yeah.
But yeah, I like this vibe.
It's like, and it's also progressive. Like the most progressive thing we could do is like chill the fuck out and like be cool with everybody. Like let everybody be different, hold space for everybody, like that Uranian space. You know what I mean? That just like
that there is a place for every person in everybody's life.
And like to love them. And it's not like, oh, well, if you look a certain way, then I'll do it. It's more like, okay, the new Virgo, Venus and Virgo paradigm is going to be like, are you in service of something greater than yourself? All right, cool. I need your cream. Like, for my Twinkie.
For my Tootsie.
It sounds really terrible. Terrible. But you know, like we're editing and we're conditioning in different ways now, and I think the bar is raised, and it has to do with integrity, and it has to do with spirituality, and it has to do with like authentic embodiment of values, you know?
Yeah, and I think this is a big final test this next 5 months of Mercury's understanding of Hermeticism itself, which is always an alchemy at the center of the whole understanding of life, which is, I think we are leaving, as Dylan has said many times, he is not here tonight, which we wish him the best in his beautiful place of Hawaii that he's at right now.
Yeah.
But I think that he said it so well as we are really leaving this mind element and going much more in the solar plexus. But I think there's this peak out in this next 5 months, and especially like a moment like this week coming up of so much mercurial energies to understand reality really well. It's almost kind of like raising the vibration and understanding it, so now we don't need to question it anymore. Yeah. Like there is like a peak, especially with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction happening with Mercury and the Sun on that January 10th through 12th. Like that to me is going to be that last Mercury kind of boom moment, as it's going to catapult down, as you were saying, Sarah. It's kind of these systems are trickling, like they're falling apart. It's like it reminds me of like old 80s drawings of like cubes falling. I don't know why, you know, like from reality, and like whoa, like kind of 80s, you know, like the old lines, and like you know, there's this ending of that coming, and maybe that's because that was very Saturn, Pluto, and Libra times, you know.
Yeah.
But that's that we're at this place where the mind is going to peak out. It's to understand the reality, understand the understanding of balance and understanding the balance of light and dark, masculine and feminine, the definement of divinity itself, the connection to God and the higher realms and the lower realms. Like, there is this all around picture that must be understood. Once you know that, it's like an alchemist doesn't just keep restudying it in many ways. They go and like apply it in their life. They go do something with it. And I think that this is the magic that Erika was bringing up of these times with the activations and the stars and the fixed stars. Like, magic is not so much about the study more than applying the understanding of what you understand and doing it, you know?
And it's the belief,
Yeah.
right? Magic is believing that it can be real, that it's something that can be true. And that's another connection with Sirius, is like what you were talking about, the hermetics, the alchemy, right? It's like ancient mystery school training, right? Like lineages that are like coming back online, that we are remembering that. And I really think too, like what you were both talking about, like human, you know, it's like bringing humanity back to being human, you know, connecting with everyone, like letting everyone be authentic in their own way and loving them for that, you know, but also like bringing it's the presence. Presence is key with bringing it all back down to earth, rooting it in, and just like being, literally just being.
I just had the coolest visual when you were saying that.
Right.
You know how when somebody flatlines, like you lose them.
This is crazy that you're saying that.
Did you have a vision?
And then
I want Sarah to finish, and then I'll interject. And it's all about Erika, and it'll blow.
and there's like that silent moment when it flatlines and everyone's just like holding their breath, like, oh my God, like they're gone. And then there's like some scene where that person goes out of their body and they like go talk to somebody and in their spiritual realm or whatever it is, or something happens outside of that realm. And then they're like, okay, I'm not ready yet. Like, I'm not going to go. And they come back, and like that moment, everyone in the room is just like starting to grieve each other. And then you hear that one beat. And there's like tears in their eyes, and time is like literally standing still. And they just like open their eyes and they look at the screen, and literally like all odds have been defied. And in that moment, it's like in that moment, life actually becomes real. And that's what Saturn Pluto has the potential to give us, is this post-flatline effect. And it's, what if we could willingly go to our knees, in a sense, and not be so afraid of it? And I think doing the Saturn, putting in the discipline, the effort, the consistency of like investing in some sort of supportive container to do your deep plutonic shadow work, like whatever it is, personally or in a relationship, whatever it is, like start investigating that now. You start putting in that effort now. When this all comes in, you're not going to be dropped to your knees. Sure, like we're collectively, we don't know what's going to happen, but we can start preparing ourselves. Like, we do know this transit's going to happen, and we do know the archetypal themes of these energies. And we have so many resources. So I feel like, I don't know, I think there's a lot of cool shit that can come from all.
Well, I think, we have resources we don't even know of with Uranus and Taurus, and it's about
right in front of
accessing
us.
those.
Like right in front
And the
of us.
reason that I was tripping out, because the telepathy between us three is pretty gnarly, especially like people don't even know Sarah and my telepathy over these couple months like has been crazy, and then Erika and I've had it for 10 years. But when Sarah said flatline, I mean, and might be a sensitive subject, but I know Erika has no problem talking about it. 2 of the dogs that Erika has have died in her arms, and you know, they were her. Out of the 4, I mean, the 2 that have passed were like the.
Well, they were the OGs,
They were OGs.
right? They were.
But there was something about, you know, every time when they passed, both of them, you like called me right away, and it was like I felt what Sarah was just saying. That a lot of people go to the vet and say, put it down for me. Like Erika, like does the work, holds the dog, and loves the dog all the way through its death, and kisses the dog, and sends it to heaven, and gives it this beautiful goodbye. And always it's this beautiful moment of like, as Sarah says, the flatline moment, and then knowing that both Manny's and Shuggies went to this beautiful place.
Yeah.
And even though it's a very kind of very sad and emotional moment, there's the beauty. You can hear it in your voice every time you call them. Like, I watched them go. Like, each time.
And I felt it. But in my heart, right, like, I knew that that's what they wanted. Like, they wanted to be with me. They never, if I would have brought them to the vet, they would have been so scared and so fearful. And it was like, that was truly a blessing. You know, like being able to be there for them in their final moments, because anyone that knows me knows my pups are like my kids. Like they are, not even like my kids, like they are my fur children. I like lovingly refer to them as, but it was in that moment, that it was like, and like sadness, but also like I feel them with me all the time. Like I can just like tune in and I feel little Manny's on my shoulder. Like he's always on my shoulder, you know, and it's always like in the memory, and in that they'll forever live on, you know.
And, you know, he was a Virgo.
Yeah, I know. Manny's was a little Virgo.
And, you know, he was the cutest little boy and very thin and everything. But, man, if you crossed him, he'd look at you.
He just loved his mommy so much.
Yeah, he did.
His son perfectly trined my moon. So it was like, he's like my little prince. He was my little prince.
Well, it's funny, because that means that Mars and Uranus is trining that, right?
Yeah. Oh, see, like I feel him. I feel him.
But that's funny that you brought that up, because right when Erika was saying that, instantly it was like, oh, Erika with the dogs in the arms, and then you're thinking of flatlining, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy.
Yeah. It's like, but that's what the potential of like death or loss or this really potent time collectively has for each other. And for, it's like, just, we can't bullshit anymore about the bullshit. And I think that's, I mean, for me, like, that's like the gift of death, of like losing someone unexpectedly, is just this like, holy shit. You wake up and you're like, wow, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, it was that immediate experience of like feeling them cross over and feeling that relief of their spirit to be there. And I think just, we just have so much support, like so much spiritual support outside of this dimension. And we're entering a new world, like we are, but in that entering, we're exiting a world as well. And we need to be mindful of that. And are we going to go out with this, like, in a war, or are we going to go out in love and surrender?
Yeah, I think you're right. This Capricorn, Pluto, Saturn surrender moment is really easy for those that really get it, but it's still hard for anybody. But it's still like, for anybody that's just like really holding on to this structure that just doesn't work anymore, it's tough, because it's like wanting to hold till the last minute, like the goat does on that trail. But it's like, maybe that trail isn't going to give you much anymore, you know. And it is a mystical sea goat. And I think people forget about that.
The sea, they forget about the depth.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They go to the deepest depths.
And that's where a Capricorn does the best, is when it connects with that. And that's why Pisces is so important with Neptune in aspect to this, because it's adding the spiritual quest, which is, it might be like this totally new trail that might be so weird, but it's known that's where to go. And it's like being the goat that doesn't follow the other goats a little bit. Yeah. You know?
It's literally like the like bodhicitta is the heart that is capable of loving at that depth. And when I learned about bodhicitta and that practice of compassion, and it's funny because I knew Capricorn was a sea goat, but I never heard it like cross-referenced like that. Like I never heard of like anyone talk about a sea goat, like talk about the depths. And when Pema Chodron was talking about bodhicitta and about like literally like going when we get triggered or there's some kind of like tender moment, instead of, you know, immediately rushing away from it, actually like going into that, like going into that soft, tender spot of ourselves, of humanity, like going into that, into the depths, like that's true power. And I was like, oh my God, like that's a Capricorn,
right?
Like that's the revolution.
Oh, yeah.
Especially with Neptune. We're never going to see that again in our lives. And we never have for centuries and centuries and centuries in its home sign. And I think that depth of surrender to a spiritual, which that's so hard to define what that is, especially in this community today. Like it's so defined by all these little things. Like I think that maybe all this Mercurial and Virgo energy is kind of like, remember just to kind of be, you know, whatever works for you. There's something about what works for you and what is spiritual, because, you know, like medicine is ruled by Virgo, whereas like, you know, illegal drugs and plant medicine stuff, which is hard to tell a dosage, is Pisces, right? So there's our own unique dosage for what we need. We know how much we need and how little we need of certain things right now in life. And I think that's going to be a big part of what the spiritual community is going to have to find compassion in a way for. Everybody has their own route of how to do this work right now, and they know their depths and they know where it is, and allow that to be. I think that's the Uranus-Venus thing coming in on a deeper level, that like, hey, like, don't be like saying and throwing shade on people like, well, no, this is it, and that's how you got to be. And, you know, it's kind of like, they know, people know their dosage. Like, don't try and tell me how much joules I could hit. I know when it's going to give me a headache or not, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that like is projection, right? When people are kind of like picking apart little things, it's literally like projecting their energy of their own fears onto that person and not doing their own work, like going to their own depths, peeling back their own layers. I think you had said something about it before, like just like this death and rebirth cycle that like I know I have been feeling like so strong for a while now, literally just like death and like rebirthing myself energetically, like spiritually on all levels, right? Like really just it's about like not being afraid to go there, you know, to like really and to fully like, and that is the embodiment, you know, like not being afraid, like literally peeling it back layer by layer, and then like having that courage to like rise up, you know, realizing that we are both our shadow and our light, right? Like we're all of it. We're the complete spectrum of it all, you know, and you can't just neglect your shadow, because then you're not like loving that aspect of yourself. And then your little shadow is going to be like a little gremlin and be the alien baby that's going to take over everything, you know? So and I wanted to bring this up too. Lilith, right? So Lilith is on Neptune right now, like literally unearthing our shadow, like what will not be suppressed anymore or diminished, you know, coming out of that shadow, like in a really beautiful spiritual way.
Or sleep.
Right.
Really sleep.
Right.
Or like aggression. I almost see it as like aggression. Or I was gonna say too, like something to be mindful of is you guys are both 12th house suns, right?
I'm like right on the cusp. I'm like I'm like.
But we both have
right
Taurus
there.
moons. We're both manifesting generators, and my moon's 28 Taurus. Her sun's 0, 0, 0. Like 1 Gemini.
I just scooched into that Gemini. Yeah.
I guess my point. Well, I'm 4th house sun, like you know that, and I'm what I was gonna say is like some of us are kind of like made for these waters. Like the brief part of deep astrology I got to catch tonight, I heard you say like sink or swim, and this Uranus trine Venus Mars, and we talked about this like unconditional love, and it's also like if someone's projecting on you, can you see through it and not actually need to like put up a psychic mirror or put up a wall or defend
boundaries
it, or
protection.
or whatever. Like, can you actually hold space for that without being triggered and have the compassion to know, like, not everybody's made to just dive into these depths. And that's something for me personally on my journey I've had to come to terms with, is like I never really got it, and it kind of frustrated me. Like, I'm like, why won't everyone just deal with their shit? It's like, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to look at ourselves and to really be honest with ourselves. And it has been terrifying because of our cultural, because of our conditioning, because we've been set up for the shame. And it's a real offender. I mean, there is physiological effects similar to physical pain when we feel rejection or shame. Yeah. So it's real. It is real and it's experienced. And we have to have compassion for that. Yeah. Like, we have to acknowledge that. And then the ones who have been given this gift, because it's a gift. Can we share? Can we pass the baton? Can we share the medicine? Can we help? Can we serve and like reach out and extend ourselves without like, you know, sink in with everybody?
Well, I was a rescue swimmer in the Navy, so when somebody
Here we go.
when somebody is drowning and they come to you in the water and you have just dropped down in the helicopter and there's blades going and the ocean is doing this and you don't even realize how much it is gnarly. It is intense. But as a rescue swimmer, you're just like, okay, I'm just getting in the water. Okay, let me swim over to you. And then everybody's freaking out, right? What we do is we are taught to like, you're going to drown me. We tell them that. If they keep doing that, we just back away and let them drown, basically, until they get so exhausted and out of it, and then we throw them. Here you go.
The raft.
Here you go. Because
that is so symbolic.
There's no way they're going to kill you who's trying to get saved. Those guys up there in the helicopter, fuel-wise, everything-wise, it's a very intense situation. And you let the person wear themselves out of freak out. And you just literally just keep swimming back. And it's hard when you're an air crewman and you're young, you're 18, and you're helping, because anybody driving a boat or flying a plane or anything is an officer. So I'm like this little enlisted guy, but I have air crew wings on that's trained to basically let you drown. Oh, no. So you stop, you know. That's hard, you know, and it's hard to do it. But it's also like, this is not going to save anything by me, you know, getting involved into your chaotic situation.
Right.
And you do save them.
Yeah, and you still save them.
Because they save themselves by stopping and receiving the help. Yeah. And that is the most beautiful fucking symbology I've ever seen. And we are literally doing that. Yeah. And it doesn't matter who you are on that spectrum, because you're probably the rescuer for somebody in your life. And you're probably the person who needs to be rescued. And we got to put our freaking walls down, put the armor down, and like receive and give. But it has to be from this very like, I've been trained, you know, like you were trained, and it's like, I can't save you. I can't kill both of us by saving you.
And swimming is not as hard as people think. People who don't know how to swim, their reaction is flail everything and go crazy and freak out. And it's like, it's so graceful, right?
That's how shadow work is. Yeah. I mean, that's literally, it's so scary when you're like looking at this huge body of water, these potential things I need to look at. But like the second you just get in the water and you just feel it out, and then you're like, oh, I can go as far as I want. I can stay as close to shore as I want. I have all the choice.
Yeah, it's finding that flow. You know, it's like the wave that we keep on bringing up.
I do want to say this to kind of close the show and get both your opinions to close it, is we just had a lot of great fire, which was nice, because if you really look at the elements of astrology of 2019, it's been very earth, water, right? So it's been very muddy. And so that's been also kind of, I think, hard for people, just because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of saturation and everything. And the fire kind of was good, but I think that also brought people kind of out of it and dried things. But now we're going way into some deep earth here. There is water, of course, with Neptune and Pisces and the North Node in Cancer. But there is, you know, a lot more just earth, where at least it's dried earth, so we can run and we can use it. I want to see what you both feel about, because if we look at when we come into Scorpio season and when we come to the end of this year in Capricorn, of course, like, and Jupiter will be there. I mean, there's not going to be a big fire fest anymore, and it's going to get really muddy again.
I think the earth is beautiful. I think it's refreshing, because like you said, everything was like so muddy through Cancer, like, oh, all the feels, like just really going through it, all of the healing, all the layers, like literally all the things, right? Then fire, we've got our swag back, we're feeling good, we're like the phoenix, we're rising. Now with earth, it's like bam, bringing it back down, like 2 feet planted on the ground. Like, how do we make this real? How do we make this tangible? Like, how do we root it in and just like anchor this vibration, this frequency? Because we were emanating so much beauty from our heart, and then like also receiving it, giving it back to ourselves. Like, how do we manifest this? How do we really be of service, stay on the mission, and just bring it back down, like make it real, make it pure, of integrity, and make it real.
Just letting it sink in. That was really good. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's harvest season, right? And I think you can run around as fast as you want and harvest as much as you want. Or you can like work with the context and what we have, like the resource we have. So it's like the time and energy that you have, and kind of be this like Empress energy where it's like, yes, I'm gonna delegate some of my harvesting. I'm gonna use all of my resources and I'm gonna harvest, but I'm gonna harvest mindfully. And there's been so much kind of chaotic running around all of 2019, and I think we're exhausted in a beautiful way. That's like, I only have so much, and I have a certain length to go. We know we've got to make it, you know what I mean? So we've got to use our resources to really get there. So I feel like it's got to be discerning and mindful and as much ease as possible. And I think that's where it's like, it's not running around getting it all done, but it's like, I'm going to do a few things every single day. I'm going to be consistent. I'm going to be committed. I'm going to show up. I'm going to clock in and do it. And using that Cancer washout to be like, to be present and to keep your heart open so that you don't miss that perfect connection that walks right in front of your face. It's that perfect match to that one person you need for that one job and that one crop and like whatever. And it's like, but were you too busy making sure you had to do it all yourself and get it done? Like use that kind of like, we've been like ripped open and it's like stay open and then channel the fire and like fuel and get going. Move.
Yeah, I love both those answers and analogies and perspectives because, you know, I as a Leo, I always go, okay, 30 days left of summer. when you know, because I'm a summer. I love summer. It's my favorite. But especially as I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, the fire's... like Mars is not going to be in fire anymore for a while.
Yeah.
Because it's going to come into Sag, in 2020. And this moment, the fire really did dry up this muddied water. And I just feel like it's go and use it because... there is this very rare aspect right now to be able to really like harvest and create and do so much, because whatever we do and we create with this is really going to be what I feel we are going to have in our satchels or whatever we have to get us through the beginning portal of 2020. Like, and this is what we gather and this is what we have and this is what we create. So we better use it. We better not sit around and the Neptune thing keeps coming up because we're going to get ready for some big Neptune oppositions, right? Like big ones with the Sun and Mars and Venus and even Mercury. And I think that, you know, at the end of summer, people tend to go, well, it's my last days and, you know, I'm just going to like, you know, check out and go on a vacation here, pull out. And I think it's like being in the moment. And like, if you have that 5 minutes where you're like taking a break, you take in the sun at that moment, you know, or you take in whatever. But it's like, just know that like, you can still escape into those beautiful places or that disconnect that you need. I think we need that at times, but we cannot just fully pull out right now because, and I know it might sound hard, but like this is, if we're astrology talking, like this is just like not vacation time. It is not vacation time. It is do the work, get it done, because you don't want to come with an empty satchel to this thing. And I think that, you know, there'll be people there to offer and be great. And that's what I think is going to be beautiful about this. But it is kind of that feeling of like in Capricorn, when it does come, like it does feel good to have all your ducks in a row. It does feel good to have the list checked off, to show up to whatever it might be. I mean, I'll use the military, for example. There was a lot of things I needed to show up with, you know, to join the military. And if I didn't have it all, like they would have screamed and yelled at me and it would not have gone good, you know? Or, you know, there's a survival aspect to a lot of this stuff going on, is just surviving the intensity of the weight of the world itself, where you want to be able to have in your satchel always like a little, you know, whether it's a berry or something to kind of get through the moments of life and know you have enough. Capricorn conserves the right way. It doesn't just go, well, I'm just going to have the whole thing. And I think this is where Jupiter and Sag can kind of be a little twisted, because we're getting ready for the Jupiter-Neptune square as well. And we're going to get ready for all this Virgo to square Jupiter. So I think people can kind of take this time and get really ready and then get really going. And then, but weeks ahead, it can kind of get complicated, I think, or people can kind of, start changing their perspective again, which I think is part of the mutable energy, which is good. So I think we're going to go all over the place. But I think it's a reminder of that what's coming in 5 months is so important for you to make sure that you're continually putting stuff in the satchel, even though it might be a circus around you. It's like picking up the little pieces that you need when you need it. That makes sense and that work, and showing up, like you said, Sarah, and just, I'm clocking in, I'm doing this. And if there's a moment where you need to clock out, clock out, but don't forget to clock back in and be there, because you don't want to miss all these amazing pieces that are coming together, especially as there's a lot of retrograde still. And they're giving us those pieces that we've learned. But when it all comes direct, because we get to big direct energy in October in the air, but it is going to be big squares of Saturn and Pluto with Mars in its detriment and the sun at fall. And this whole relationship thing and this balance in life is going to be tested very intensely. So you want to show up with as much as you can to balance out. It feels better to sometimes, okay, this is too much, and put away at least at that moment during the equinox in a month, than, gosh, I don't have enough. Ooh. There's something about showing up to a balance beam with, okay, I can take some off, opposed to, I don't have much to put on. What do I, now I have to separate what's very little on the other side. And
or you bring too much, and then you're like, I
but at least
do all this.
You know what, you might want to be the hero who does go in and clock in fully and maybe take too much, and then give some to some people who don't right now. Because I think there's going to be a lot of people who are checked out.
Yeah. When you're saying picking up the pieces, I saw a vision of like Hansel and Gretel. Like when Hansel and Gretel are kind of like lost and they're trying to find their way home. So he leaves like the little breadcrumbs, right? Like the little clues, so he can find his right. So he can find their way back home. And so they get the little breadcrumbs and then they find it. I don't know. I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah. So I think it's a beautiful time. I think it's going to seem complicated, but not if you allow. And definitely don't get on Google your symptoms. Because this is Virgo, right? It does deal with health. It does deal with our bodies being adjusted to the energies. And especially with Uranus trine, even though that's a positive thing, there can be a frequency shift that affects your body, and instead of looking at it as weird, like embrace it. Like, okay, this is my frequency shift. Great.
Well, I think, if you're gonna Google something about what you're feeling, Google your symptoms with Ascension versus WebMD. Like, that's a little outdated, and Uranus and Taurus can help you out on the internet, figuring out your body and your symptoms.
And I think crystals right now will come back better into play for people than ever, or holograms, or, this is where we use our tools, I think, with Uranus and Taurus. And we have some very crazy spiritual tools out there that people thought were crazy, but now that it's in Taurus, it's not so crazy.
WebMD is way effing crazier. Like
it is. That is the old crazy, it will...
You're going to die.
Everything is you're going to
It's
die.
like a headache. It's the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, well, it's that old fear-based paradigm, like right away, just don't get caught in the loop.
Or Erika does sound healings, a lot of them with crystal bowls, and you're doing even crystal bowl Reiki right now, right?
Yeah, so I infuse Reiki with the sound healing, and I also sing with the sound healing. So I've because I've always been a singer and with a classical background, I use my voice as a harmonic, an additional harmonic as I play the crystal bowls. And I think we were just talking about it earlier. For me, in this crazy energy, right, when I start to feel literally I'm about to float away, it's just using our tools, our little magical tools that we have. For me, it is, breath. It is also the crystal bowls to help bring me back down to earth. That is such an important thing to implement now is literally like, don't let yourself just float away, because it's not time for that. Like, no escaping, like, don't just, not vacation time, like time to bring it back down to earth. Find that presence, find that peace, find like the grace within
Bring the
flow.
vacation here.
Yeah. Right.
In the moment.
In the moment, yeah. Yeah.
Moment.
And I think with your singing, it really adds this whole other element.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's like pretty like, ooh.
Yeah, it's very, it's, I love it. I truly, like, I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. It definitely like ignites like little girl in me, you know, which I feel when we're, you know, activating our inner child, that is like when we're on the vibration of love, because that is really like our purest state.
True.
You know, like our inner child is our purest state without all the conditioning, without all the fear. It's like, check into like that little boy or little girl, like check into your heart, like bring that back online again.
Yeah, bring
And-
that into the machine. of
Yeah.
this
In your
Right.
earth.
Don't
own-
diminish its like its
Yeah.
effect on
Yeah.
the collective just by sharing your art or
And
your expression
in
or
your
whatever
own
it is.
authentic way.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
Virgo's
that's
like,
very important.
it's like a
yeah, I think
bicycle.
it's
It
very
better be
important.
like the bicycle you love and how you like to ride it and go on that ride, you know, and put all the bells and whistles on it, however that is. But at least it's going and it's doing something good and it's being
on that
positive.
vibration. Yeah. Yes, I'm glad you said that.
Or a crazy ice cream truck. Like
There's that circus again.
or like an orange crush. Ooh, people remember Irvine. I'll just say this: when we were kids, we didn't know that the ice cream man was actually selling drugs out of that thing. And if you
In
asked for,
Irvine?
in Irvine,
That's
if you-
the safest city in
Rod's ice
America.
cream. Nobody, even Craig knows about Rod, and everybody knew. And he got caught. He had to ask for an orange crush soda. He asked for the orange crush.
Stop.
I'm not joking.
So that was like the
He got
password.
caught. Yeah, that was Rod's ice cream. And you don't want to be that guy.
No.
Then like Hansel and Gretel, you don't want to.
Don't be
No
wrong.
wheeling and dealing.
No.
No,
Unless
but you know what?
it's
There's a
your
lot
singing inner
of
child.
there's a lot about manifesting with money and projects right now with all this Mars, Venus, and all this stuff. And I know people are stressed about the economy and all that. Don't pay attention to that. Just pay attention to your lane and what you can manifest. And
yeah.
like Sarah said, if this little thing pops up in front of you and that's supposed to be the whatever, yeah, okay, woohoo.
Jump on my tree. Let's go.
Well, thank you both for being here tonight. It's always a
thank
pleasure
you.
being with both of you,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
especially together. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I know. This is
This is
awesome.
fun.
Like, amazing. So excited and just grateful.
I know.
Yeah.
7 years
Easy.
later, we're back on camera.
Bam.
It's a
Crazy.
nodal flip, right?
Yes, actually.
Right.
That's what's kind of crazy.
Chicka, chicka.
Yeah.
What?
Yep. We were doing
Remix.
Beauty and the Grumble. We were doing Beauty and the Grumble with this all in the opposite aspects. And in 2011, during the Capricorn North Node and the Cancer South Node, her and I were both doing, interviews as like a celebrity couple and all the True Beauty stuff. And it was a pretty wild time. But it was weird because we were both activating each other for our spirituality the whole time.
Right, now you're
yeah.
talking about astrology on a couch and you have
Exactly.
videos online with alien babies.
Yes. But
Yeah.
between, I don't think a lot of people know with Eric and I, it was Bringers of the Dawn.
Yep.
That book changed both of us.
Yeah.
It changed both of us so much that when we both finished it at the same time, like it literally just was an activation of like.
Well, that was
Remember
our
that?
that was our Pleiadian activation.
Yeah, it was.
Which is a connection that we share. That Pleiadian activation. Your moon.
Right.
And then my sun
Yeah.
is right there in the Pleiades. So that book.
And my North Node, yeah.
Yeah, and your North
And my
Node.
Chiron.
Yeah, and your Chiron. That book, right, just literally
It was
fell
crazy.
into my lap, right?
Yeah, I
So
know.
I was working in a nightclub, okay, and that book, someone that I worked with, it was like in the beginning of the shift, was like, hey, this is my mom's book, but for some reason, I think that you should read it. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, what's it about? And she's like, oh, no, I didn't read it. So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, what is this book? Bringers of the
And then
Dawn.
she gave it to me.
Right. And it was kind of sitting there and I gave it to you. Yeah. And then David read it first.
In 3 days.
Like so fast.
And then
like,
literally I went out and I'm like, I'm making my horoscopes.
right. No,
wow.
it ignited everything. And it ignited everything for me too, because
Where's the book?
Oh, I still have the original book.
You gotta
I've
bring
had
it back. I
like
gotta read
30
the book. I've never
copies.
read it.
So good.
I buy 30.
Yeah.
I buy a new copy and hand it
Yeah.
to whoever needs it, and then I just go buy a new one.
You're one of
Yeah,
those people.
I always
Yeah.
especially like in my starseed activations,
Yeah.
right? Like when I'm speaking with a client and they have those Pleiadian connections, I'm like, but like you really have to read Bringers of the Dawn
Yeah.
because it was just like the biggest just activation. I was like, where has this text been all my life?
I love books
You
like
know,
that.
I was just like, whoa, like it ignited such a pure remembrance. And then I'm like, all right, so like, then what is the Pleiades? Like, where is that, right? And so I looked it up and I'm like, oh, okay, it's the 7 sisters. It's 26 degrees Taurus to 0 degrees Gemini. I'm like, holy, that's where my sun is, which is Alcyon, the great central sun. I'm like, that's why it like resonated so deeply,
And
was
Algol's
because
in
it
there
it was me. It's part of me, you know, like that. Even it came again to my reality, but it ignited this galactic consciousness, right, within me. That was the soul remembrance that like I've been here before, and now like I'm ready. Like I'm a messenger of this work. I'm a messenger. Like I am this, and it ignited the purpose.
And I want to say that at that time, I don't think people realize that Eric and I were really deep in Hollywood and television. She was doing television shows. I was doing appearances. We were doing reality, and we were chasing as that.
Yeah.
And there was a intervention
Yeah.
from spirit that pulled us out of that. And it was actually very difficult. This goes to the Pluto, Saturn, and Capricorn. Like, I think that is what it will be for some people. Like her and I thought we will be these celebrity people and actresses, reality star, famous DJ, da, da, da. And that's what her and I were all about when we met. And it was looking like it was going that way. And every like little project that came, sure, it made some of the money, or there was always something weird about it. It was all leading to us being totally at the most brutally raw, like, I'm on the boardwalk. She's making me a sign-off poster board and like doing to do the work. Like, and that was the catalyst of Eric and I like leaving that world. It was insane.
Yeah.
It was very hard though on the ego. It was very hard on both of us, I'd say.
Well, I think that's what it was though too. Like we were chasing. We were
Yeah.
chasing.
Yeah.
Like it was like this dragon, right? That we
Yeah.
just wanted so bad. But also we were chasing within the context of just being a couple. We weren't autonomous. We weren't our own
Yeah, we weren't.
individual. We didn't have our own sovereignty. It was just like that. And it was so beautiful because it's the support. But now this is the new dimension, the new ascension of the connection between masculine and feminine, like literally masculine and feminine, or the masculine and feminine within ourselves. Like how can we be sovereign now without chasing, without forcing, without the ego, like fully being in service to ourselves and remembering our divinity
Totally.
within that.
Oh.
Aho.
Well, thank you everybody for watching After Dark. Thank you again. You can find all the information about Erika and Sarah below on the video. And thank you again for having us. Make sure you check out highvibe.tv where you can watch free content like this. And we got a lot of other exclusive content and exclusive paid videos that you can watch that helps us keep us on the air and having content out there for you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you on the next After Dark.